talking of Joey Manu, as we just said, meters have never been an issue for him. But the fact that I was seeing some good ball playing on the weekend, it starts to make you think, like, I know other clubs would have thrown a fair bit at him to get him to not go to Union. I know that's not official yet, but it looks like it's a done deal. But put it this way, it makes me think, initially I thought, he's going to go to Union and we won't see him again. He's just going to go and enjoy his life. But is there a world where he goes away for a year? I think Teddy's off contract 2025 and then he comes back and he's their fullback.
Yeah, there is. And I'd love to see it if he does end up going to Union, that he does come back to rugby league, because we're so fortunate to have him. And like you, Cam, sort of mentioned before, but my opinion of him changed in that one pass that he threw for the try to Tupu, because I just went, he's ballpark an 800k a year centre in the NRL. He will run for like close to 300 metres a game, at a minimum 250 plus at fullback. He doesn't even have to be a superstar ball player, but if he can get his ball playing going as well and start adding the touch on the end of the back line, like, name your price.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Dylan Edwards. Look how much he's worked on. He's not the greatest ball player, and I know it's a different system, but it's serviceable. It does its job. And so if Manu, I have to remember, guys, Manu hasn't had a full preseason at fullback. Like, so surely a full preseason at fullback, after seeing just that little deft touch he did on the weekend, surely he can get his ball playing up to a standard that's good enough to be a top-tier fullback. You'd have to assume.
Yeah, I think so. And I really want to see him now with that preseason. Like, he's, 27 years old. I'd love to see him with that full preseason of ball playing and practicing and just working on it. Like, he's a freak and he's naturally incredibly talented. Like, he's got a great offload on him. So with the time, there's no reason why he can't do it. It's just terrifying as to what he could do at fullback.
Him being 27 just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I always get reminded of it. I have to really look, Google it and just make sure. I can't believe he's 27.
Yeah, and it's not like he's gone back to fullback and every now and then he has a huge meter games. He goes back to fullback, you can guarantee 200 plus meters. Matter of fact, I would love random stats guy, Rando, to go back and look at his average meters at fullback, because I'd be shocked if he's in 200 plus.
I reckon you'd be pushing 250.
Probably 250.
Fullback.
And I think, we always talk about Teddy, sometimes he can get on the ball too often and it ruins plays. I've got to say, Manu, especially in this game, he picked his moments perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, every time the ruck slowed down a little bit, or you could see, okay, the forwards aren't really, not that they're not there, but they might have taken the 3 hit-ups before. That's when he would jump in and go, I'm just going to get a quick play the ball for the next play. Mate, he was absolutely phenomenal. And I hope we haven't lost him. It makes you wonder as well. The $1 million mark that they were talking about with going to the Dragons, was it unders? Again, not unders for unders for what he could be. Like, right now, it's probably about right, not knowing. Before we could see him ball play a little bit, it's probably about right. But after seeing on the weekend, and then imagining a full preseason at fullback, then also adding on to the fact that there's Dragons are desperate for all fullback, you go, maybe they should have thrown 1.2, 1.3 at him.
I've got some sad news, boys. They've docked Manu a couple of meters, so I don't think he's got the record anymore.
No way.
And I've checked both NRL and Fox Sports. So NRL have him now at 347. Fox Sports is 326. So I think they've docked him.
How does that happen?
Why?
There's
Why
gotta be
would
an
you do it
investigation.
to him?
It's got to be an
Quite the great Jeff
investigation.
Duty.
What's he on now, Matty? 340.
347.
347.
Where do you get an extra 30 metres from?
So Chance was 346. So Chance almost beat him after all that.
Oh, my God.
Should we change the code? Change it to someone else?
No. No, he was still incredible.
Code Chance Nickel Clockstad. That's CHA.
And you get $1 off whatever you purchase rather than 10.
Manu log is too seamless of a product integration to go back from now.
Oh man, what a now everyone thinks that Manu's got, because what's going to happen now is that the next time someone does heaps of meters, let's say they do 360, someone that is deep in rugby league is going to go, they broke the record. The wider audience is going, no, Manu broke the record. What are you talking about? It's 370. And then there's going to be arguments in the comment section. What are you talking about? Oh my God. Anyway, regardless of all that, Manu was incredible. The ball playing, I'd love to see him with a full preseason, because seriously, which leads into our chat for the game. Roosters. And as I said, don't forget, guys, use code Manu for $10 off Guzman y Gomez. Now let's get into the round review. But don't forget, KO Sports is a place to watch all 8 NRL games each week. There's also plenty of other great content you can watch across so many different sports. Make sure you jump on KO to watch your team play. Also, when it comes to fights, just a quick side note, if you didn't order the fights on KO, like we told you to on on the DMP, you are the one that lost out because Max Holloway did the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. Probably the greatest knockout I've ever seen in my life. So just for the people, the silly people that decided not to buy UFC 300 on KO. So Max Holloway goes up a division to 155. He's already been up a division and got beaten by Dustin Poirier. Goes up to fight Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is like one of the most dangerous strikers in the sport. So Max is essentially winning the fight 3-1. So they're in the 5th round. He's already winning 3-1. So he can just coast to a victory. Doesn't coast. Not only does he not coast, so there's like 30 seconds to go. It is done. He's gone up a weight division, beaten Justin Gaethje. It's one of the great, comeback stories. This is a guy that got completely dominated by Alex Volkanovski a couple years ago. Goes up, the fight is done. 30 seconds to go. Justin Gaethje's not the one that points to the middle of the ring or the octagon. Max Holloway points to the middle of the octagon where I think it was a big monster can, and says, let's just plant our feet and bang. So they both plant their feet and just start swinging for the fences. With 1 second to go, Max Holloway, who is not known for his power, knocks Justin Gaethje's lights completely out. We're talking face plant on the octagon. So he risked it all to knock him out with 1 second to go in the fight. One of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. And then to top it all off, the next fight was, it's okay. But then the main fight, Alex Pereira, they're fighting in the first round. He gets nut-shotted. The ref comes over to stop it. Pereira goes like this, like that to him. The ref steps back, and then Pereira steps in and knocks out who he's fighting. So he kicked in the dick and says, I don't need the ref to help me. I'm going to knock this bloke out. I think it was in the dick. You just never know, all right? Anyway, look, was UFC off its head on the weekend? Yes, it was. But let's get into some rugby league. Roosters defeat the Knights 22-20. Look, I know people are going to be so sick of us talking about this, but it has to be mentioned. Every time Sam Walker plays by himself, he kills it. Every time Luke Keary plays by himself, he kills it. Every time they play together, they don't play poorly, but it just doesn't seem to click. Here was another example of Keary playing some of the best footy he's played in a couple of years. And it is like Trent Robinson might be the only coach I've seen coach in a long time has too many guns that is giving him too many headaches. Honestly, his decision-making would be easier if he had to pull one or two players out of that roster. And it begs the question, now maybe Keary and Walker eventually do click this year and we're all just sitting there going, because there was a period last year where they went on a bit of a run. I don't necessarily think they clicked, but it was working to a degree. So maybe they do click mid-year. But I tell you what, the question of you've just got to go with one or the other is getting louder and louder.
Yeah, what I saw from it, Kempy, was I do wonder, like we saw, and we still obviously see it very much now, but back in the day, early 2000s, even prior to that, the 90s, you had your old school, your halfback who was the first receiver, got the team around the park, direct to the middle of the field, and then you had generally a ball running 5'8" who'd sweep out the back, would link up with halfback and do that. And then for more than a decade, you've had very much a left side half and a right side half, and it's shit me to tears at times because I think it wastes a lot of playmaking talent in the halves. The last few years, you've seen teams go back a little bit more to one bloke running the show and then a gun 5'8", think sort of Cody Walker at the Bunnies, and certainly when he was with Adam Reynolds, and he'd be sweeping up both sides and, much more enjoyable to watch football-wise. Do the Roosters need to just go Keary on the left, Walker on the right, don't overcomplicate things, don't let them step on each other's toes, they both run each of their edges, they're dominant on their respective edges, and just simplify it? Because those two players who, a lot of the time they are like ball running 5'8" who go side to side, and it's hard to keep up with it. What's the game plan like? How can you stay in sync when you're both running over the field like headless chooks? Do you just say, boys,
Pun intended.
Yeah. No, pun intended, actually. Do you just say, boys, stay on your side of the field? You got Teddy who sweeps out both sides and plays off the back of them. I'm not saying it's the right option, but on what we've seen, they both go better when they're controlling the side. So if they're just controlling their left and their right, maybe that's the option.
Yeah, see, I reckon it's more, you've just got to say to one of them, whatever the other bloke wants, you do. So wherever he wants you to get and be, like, because watching on the weekend with Keary, the reason why I felt like he was so good is he was just dominant. Whenever like Connor Watson played second fiddle, and Connor Watson actually played really well, but his job was just like, where do you want me, Keary? And I'm just going to run the ball hard. And I just think Keary is the kind of guy that he needs to be on the ball a lot.
And Keary and Walker are both really strong ball runners, despite being little fellas. You know, let's compare it to, say, someone like the Cronulla Sharks, where you've got Nico Hines, who's very much the dominant playmaker in the halves. He runs the show, he gets the ball, and Trindle just plays his role really nicely, and they're having a lot of success with it. And again, we've sort of touched on it before, but do you just go, one of these two is dominant, the other one has to take a back seat and play as more of a 5'8"?
Yeah, well, it's tough, though, because if you're a Roosters fan, you're sitting there going, we did try that. We gave Keary the 7 jersey. And so that's why I think that, like, obviously I've just put that forward of, like, maybe you just tell one or the other, you do whatever the other guy says. But I think that both players just don't have it in them. I think Sam Walker grew up being the guy. Keary has won 3 premierships. He's the guy. And I just don't think they naturally know how to play second fiddle to someone else. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest concern. And so your solution of left and right is probably the closest you're going to get to a solution, because it's like you can still be the man, but you just stick on your side of the field. Because I just can't for the life of me seeing Keary being second fiddle. And second fiddle, it sounds insulting. It's not. It's just roles in a team. And I also can't see Sam Walker doing that either.
But even like Penrith Panthers, Cleary and Luai, very strong. Luai on the left, Cleary on the right. Cleary certainly more so towards the back end of last year and leading into the final series. He started sweeping and playing a bit more on the left on Luai's side and playing off Luai, which is terrifying for oppositions. But they've got a simple game plan, and that they stick to their edges and it works for them.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It is really tough. Anyway, the good thing is Keary, like, he's a game and a half now, he's been outstanding. And, you know, a few weeks ago, a lot of people, you know, and there were questions in my mind too of like, oh, should have they re-signed him? And look, we've still got more games to see. But, geez, like, a lot of people I kind of felt heading into this year were like, look, I want to see how Keary goes for the first few weeks. If he's not as good as we think he is, maybe he is past it. But he's just proven he's not. He's really not. Last game and a half, he's been outstanding.
Even Connor Watson looked good at 5'8", partnering him, didn't he?
I loved the combo too, because it was real simple. Connor just ripped and teared, really good ball runner. So it's a tough. And then we haven't even mentioned Sandon Smith yet. You know, so it's just a really weird, tough situation for Robson Bean.
So you reckon when they're both fit, you definitely bring them both back in? They're both playing 6 and 7, or would you consider leaving a guy like Connor Watson in there? And
I think you have to bring them both back in.
Yep.
But I do think at some stage you've got to give yourself a time frame of, if this doesn't click, I have to make a tough call.
Yep.
And the tough call isn't you aren't playing good enough to play first grade. The tough call is you just don't click. Like remember when they had Milford and Cody Nikodima at the Broncos? Individually, great. But they just did not click. Like they tried to make Milford a 7, then they tried Nikodima there for a little bit, and it just didn't work, even though they both individually were going okay.
It's like trying to milk a horse. Some things just don't work.
There you go. Maybe Robbo can use that. Guys, it's like trying to milk a horse.
They'll really understand it if he uses in that terminology.
But look, the positive is, as I said, Keary played extremely well. We've already spoken about Joey Manu. I've spoken about him on Packer Up Boys, but Terra May's performance. Another smoky for Origin, in my opinion. You know, it's Mitch Barnett, smoky for Origin now. The good thing for New South Wales is they're probably like last year, it was like a little bit of depth in the front row that was questionable. Hopefully, if these boys continue playing the way they are, your depth is really building up in New South Wales. If put it this way, if you've got a guy like Terra May that continues to play like this and he doesn't make the side, that says something about your depth.
We're like, pardon me, we're somewhat short on like really informed front row forwards at the moment. We've got options there. Junior Bolo, like Campbell Gillard. There's a few. Payne Haas is obviously the locked and loaded one. But in terms of formed front rowers in the game across both states, Terra May. Like,
He's got to be up there.
he's been as good as anyone this year, hasn't he?
And just the unique point of difference that he offers when he comes on the field. Like, he has such a good mixture of post-contact meters, good in contact, solid defence, and that offload.
Mate, how good was his ball play on the weekend?
Craziness.
Was it Radley you put through or someone? Like, it was.
Radley hits short, and then he doesn't. So he hits Radley short, and a lot of front rowers go straight to the middle and get back and reset to get into their shape. For some reason, he just knew footy IQ. I need to go and fill that centre spot. Runs directly to the centre, and then gives it to Tupou to score a try in the corner.
Crichton to May to Tupu. What a combination on the edge.
Unbelievable. So, you have to say Terra May is up there in regards to, at least in the conversation.
Imagine him coming off the bench and ripping and tearing for a half hour, if not more. Like,
Absolutely. And they've just extended him too, haven't they? At the Dogs for another little while.
Which is a huge get, especially for a period there, I thought I didn't think there was no chance, but I was like, it's not looking good, especially when they started talking about, if you can sign all three of us. And I was like, oh, crap, like maybe they do lose him. But I think, look, I don't know what happened in negotiations, but surely the Roosters initially, because when the contract negotiations started, they were talking to, a youngish forward front rower that has started to play a bit of good footy. Now, this point of contract negotiations, it's gone from a young footy player playing some good footy, he may or may not continue, to, this guy is the replacement for Hargreaves. Like, this guy is the next guy up. And so they're two very different conversations that you're having with a player.
Yeah, I just think it's as simple as that, Kempy. In that the first, 6 weeks of the season, he's gone from exactly that, a young forward showing promise, to potentially one of the best front rowers in the game. And they've seen that. And I tell you what, the value of that contract, he's signing it at a good time, because from round one, or over in Vegas, round 0 to right now, he's added a few dollar signs, a few zeros, hasn't he?
Oh, surely. And I just think that the Roosters probably initially had a bit of leverage to kind of sit back and go, mate, this is what we're offering. Whereas now, I just don't think the Roosters had much leverage to sit back.
How much do you reckon he's put on his contract in the last 6 weeks?
Oh, at least $100,000 or two.
I reckon probably 200.
Yeah, seriously. Because last year you're going, all right, we'll give you 400 probably.
Yeah.
A good solid front rower coming off the bench. Whereas right now you're going, this guy could be the front rower that leads us to another premiership. So you're going anywhere from 6 to 7.
Yeah.
So great news for Roosters, because, seriously, unbelievable form at the moment. I will say, though, although great win for the Roosters with all the injuries, that first try, that's the part of the Roosters game that they just got to fix. So basically, the first try was simply Cogger just ran the ball. So they got to just outside the right goalpost. Cogger just runs the ball, and then they just go 2-pass for a Hastings dummy for a try, early in the game. That stuff has got to be sorted, because that's the softest kind of tries you can give. And I know that, not saying that you have to be machines and you can never make mistakes, but when you're the Roosters and you're pushing for premierships, put it this way, you very rarely see, and when you do, at the Penrith Panthers. Remember a game against Penrith where it was against Eels, that they got those tries through the middle, and we commented on it. We were like, that's very un-Penrith-like. And with the Roosters, they've just got to get that kind of stuff out of their game.
A try like that, a half cutting through, especially Jacko Hastings, not known for his speed as such, to cut through the middle 5 minutes into the game.
First set on the line too.
A half doing that, if it's going to happen, be in the back end of the first half, but more so the second half, and their fatigue set in, boys are gassed, there's a bit of a lazy effort. You can't use fatigue as an excuse there. That was there wasn't even really runners around him. He would have had one bloke on his outside. Yeah. It was so poor.
It was literally the first set down on their try line. And the Roosters, we know how tough they are. That's not what the Roosters are about. And look, I'm being hypercritical, because when they get it together and they click, they're a premiership threat. And I've been riding for so long. Did their performance blow me out of the water? No. But it definitely was a good building block to get to the point where I'm going back to what I thought at the start of the season, that they are a premiership threat. I'm still not ready to say that they are again. I've kind of come off that a little bit. I guess I just haven't seen enough from them this year to think that they're going to be able to put 4 games together in finals footy to beat the Broncos, Penrith, Warriors. But that's a really good building block for me with the players out.
They had every right to go up to this game in Newcastle. Obviously, always a strong home crowd in Newcastle, very vocal. on the short turnaround, it was a 6-day turnaround from that game against the Doggies where they lost half their team. Players were forced to play bigger minutes. They played the majority of the game, a man down with the send-off. You look at it, they lost their 1, they lost their 7, they lost half their bloody team. In those wet conditions, like, it would have taken so much out of the players in that game. 6-day turnaround, going up to Newcastle against a Knights side that were finding form. That was a really gritty win.
Yeah, really, and it's just a good building block. Because, like, then here's the foundation, guys. Like, this is this, because, like, they played a different style of footy too. Fast pace. Why did Cheese have the best game he's had in a long time? Because these back three were giving him quick play the balls through the middle. And, like, he was finally, basically playing the way, that's what he got paid and brought to the club for, is fast tempo footy.
At the start of last year, when we were sort of sitting there going far out, like, there's so many playmakers and attacking weapons in this team. How are they going to try and put it together? Still haven't really seen how they're going to do that properly or effectively, but we sort of thought they were just going to try and knock down the front gate, just play through the middle. Teddy, Manu coming in, roaming, and then off the back of it, just Cheese, just running.
Yeah.
And that's what they did the other night, didn't they? It was a much more simplified style of footy.
Really simple style
They
of
weren't
footy.
spreading too early. They weren't chancing their arm. It was just like they knocked down the middle door, and they were relentless.
Well, look at the try that, was it Radley or Manu scored? It was purely quick play the balls and just up on the advantage line.
It was, the one I'm thinking of, it was Manu taking this unbelievable run just straight through the guards, flying, busted tackles, got a quick play of the ball, and Cheese just went, thank you, and strolled over.
Yeah. And so, that was that one. But there was also the other one that was on the halfway line.
Yeah, that was the Radley try.
That was a Radley try. They just got out. Kiri was on the front foot. Manu was on the front foot. Radley, and I think that's how they should play. Like, look at your team. You got big outside backs to get you. I thought their outside backs were friggin' amazing. Just quickly as well, what I loved about this game in the forward pack, it was youth versus experience. So the first 10 minutes, and look, the Saifidi brothers aren't that young anymore, but when it comes to experience, I would say that Knights forward pack, it's not on the same pedestal as the Roosters forward pack right now. Now, you get technical and look at games played or whatever, but I think we can all agree the Roosters forward pack on paper is known as, the experience, top tier forward pack. What I loved about it was first 15 minutes, especially Leo Thompson, they really attacked the Roosters forward pack and were dominating them, like just going all like very aggressive, hyper aggressive. But that's youth. Experience is, okay, we're getting bashed, but can you do it for 80 minutes? Yeah. Can you do that for 80 minutes? And that's what I thought was so impressive about the Roosters' performance. And I do think that the Knights started really well, then they dropped off for about 30 minutes and they came back into it in the front row. But the Roosters' experience of understanding, we can weather the storm. The storm is here right now. It's going to go away. They can't do this for 80 minutes. And I thought that the Roosters were really good at just absorbing the pressure, the physicality, and just hanging in there, and then eventually just, basically dominating the Knights pack towards
the Roosters' back three averaged 270 metres each, and post-contact, Suoliti got 99, and that was the lowest of the three. So they all basically got 100 post-contact metres.
They were
minimum.
incredible. Like, for me personally, I know they had players out. That's the game plan for the Roosters. Super simple, and just you're physically better than most sides. Just bash them through the middle.
Suoliti on the wing, he's just
he's
different
so good.
beast. He's so much better there. But with Dom Young and Tupu, he's got to play centre essentially.
Crazy. Now let's get on to really good win for the Roosters. And I actually don't think it's getting enough appreciation for how good it was.
Yeah.
Like, did they set the world alight? No. But when it talk about grittiness, toughness, no excuses. They had a bunch of players out, short turnaround, very physical game against the Dogs, go up to Newcastle, and also the opening of the game, they got bashed, they found a way. And I say it all the time, the Roosters, they are a glamour club. They are in the eastern suburbs, for sure. But they don't get enough appreciation for grittiness and toughness. And if this same Rooster side was coming out of, Western Sydney somewhere, we'd be talking about their gritty and Dogs and alphas. And look, I know the hardcore fans know that, but Roosters, super gritty, super tough. Now, onto the Knights. Such a mixed bag. Because had these really great signs of a great performance. Knights completed 94% in the first half, finished the game with 87% completion rate. So you look at that, and you look at the stats, and you go, that's a really good sign of finding that steal and playing for your coach. But, geez, there were some moments in this game where it was like literally the polar opposite. Now, look, was it a shocking performance? No, not at all. It was actually quite a solid performance compared to where they've come from. But there were some key moments by some key players that I just could not believe. The game's on the line. KP makes a line break. He ran past nearly 5 Knights players.
Get there.
Like, you know what? Don't even get there. Just try to get there. I couldn't believe that. Like, put it this way. You know, you always got to ask the question, boys, if this was a grand final, would you have been chasing KP? So why... Look, I understand if one of you was so gash you couldn't do it. But like 4 or 5 of you, not even one of you could get on your bike after KP. And look, maybe you wouldn't have made it, but at least you're trying to get there. So he makes that line break. Then they get down the line. And Adam Elliott running across field. And Hastings just watched him run past. And look, KP's ball, like, he definitely should have pushed up. He didn't. I can excuse him a little bit because he's in his 6th game of NRL. It's still not good. He should have pushed up. But he had such a good game. I'm like, okay, he had such an incredible game. That was just one lapse and error. But I've got to say with Hastings, like, mate, you are the leader. Like, you're an experienced veteran. The game is on the line. It is literally the last play. And you're watching Adam Elliott just run past you. If he had have just backed Adam Elliott up, it would have been an offload. And at the very least, he would have been held up over the line, if not had a won the game.
Well, that's where the Sevens get paid their bucks, isn't it? It's to shut games out. In those final 5 minutes, when everyone's gassed, the game's on the line, that's where the Sevens, if you're in front, it's closing the game out. And if you're behind, it's chasing points, getting a bit of creativity in the side. How do you do it? What do you show?
I was... You know, what did you think of it? Did you think they had moments like that or not? Or am I just...
Absolutely, especially when the game was there to be won. And especially if you were like myself and you had Knights -4.5 as well. Particularly frustrating. But yeah, the game, that definitely stood out. Just the amount of people that KP ran past.
Especially when you're chasing points, like surely you get your second win.
It was the last play of the game to win it.
Exactly.
They win it.
They seems to be like the Knights all the time, though. Like, they can play 75 minutes of great footy, but they just have these moments where people will just fade out of games on individual efforts, and it just can prove so costly. Like, even KP, who did what he did with that hit pointer injury and he looked done for a while there, he was terrific in this game. But even on that cheese try when Manu got the real quick play of the ball and he was at marker, he sort of was on the ground, he sort of meandered up and he was facing the other way.
Yeah, they all were.
Yeah. They all, and Cheese just goes, thank you. Like, again, I acknowledge it was a good play of the ball from Joey. He did some damage, but there was just no scramble there and he just took off. He went straight past KP. He was facing the grandstand.
Yeah, so was Saifidi, so was...
it was like 3 or 4 of them again.
Elliott might have been one of them.
It's just surprising because they show such toughness at times. And actually, there's a game, Warriors versus Manly. Manly ended up scoring off a crazy Tommy Turbo offload. If you go back and watch that, and look, I understand KP had the hit pointer at this stage, so it's not necessarily directed at KP to a degree. Like, could have he still turned around for sure? But go back and look. It's when Tom Trbojevic, I think, offloads out the back. Chance is involved in the half line break they make. So as soon as the tackle finishes, you can watch, go back and watch Chance. Actually, I think I've got the time that it happened. I didn't write it down. Anyway, so Chance is involved in the tackle. As soon as the tackle completed, you see him get back and he just sprints straight back to the line and then gets set again for the next play. And I just think, like, that's the difference between the Warriors and the Knights right now is, like, going into this season, they were both pretty equal to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, matter of fact, I think a lot of us thought the Warriors would maybe slide a bit more.
So on our preview, I can't remember who picked what, but Guru asked who's going to finish higher, Warriors and Knights. We deliberate over it. 2 of us said Warriors and 3 of us said Knights.
So there you go. And that's the difference. Like, a quick play of the ball and you've got 3 players with their back to the ball. Now, I understand it is it's a technique that, you know, a lot of teams use where you don't want to run backwards to get set again because that's a slow retreat to then get off your line. But at the same time, like, I did not see urgency when that... Like, I didn't see forwards just getting... As I said, if it was a grand final, would you get there? Yeah, you would get there.
Yeah.
Were you so gassed that you couldn't get to the line to defend again? Now, if he takes off, the cheese takes off and bumps you, we go, you know what, it's the cheese, that's what he does. But yeah, so... And look, Knights fans, it sounds like I'm being super negative, but like, there were a lot to like about this game. It was just these key moments where I'm just going, what, like, you're letting yourselves down. You've been so good for so long in this game and then just switching off. So I'm sure Adam O'Brien will get on top of that. Now, the positives. Kai Pearce-Paul was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Outside of that little blemish at the end there that, he'll slowly, again, it's his 5th NRL game. So he'll learn that every second of every minute of every, hour on the footy field, you have to be switched on. But outside of that, to do that against the Roosters as well, and also they're just starting to realise he can do all the tough stuff. We're starting to see he can do the tough stuff, but just a little bits of magic that he can offer, he was outstanding. Well,
we've been saying for the 5 weeks leading into this, weren't we, that with Kai Pearce-Paul there hadn't been attacking stats, there hadn't been these big moments, and it came with that big run and that try assist, didn't it? He is so devastating, and he's done, for the majority of the time, the little things right in his first season in the NRL. He's obviously an athletic freak, his fitness to go 8 in his first season down here quite easily by the looks of it. Yeah. He's been tremendous, and that left edge of the Knights, just a few signs of what we saw in the back end of last year. And we said that particularly with Kai Pearce-Paul and, Ponga, they've had different halves come in and out on that left edge. The combinations are starting to develop there.
Bradman Best was great.
Yeah, Bradman Best was great. I did find it a little bit interesting that Greggy Marju, first game back from injury, got shifted to the right edge because a bloke who we know how devastating he can be in attack. He's one of the best finishers in the game on the wing, but defensively over the years, he's had his issues, and he sorted a lot of them out for the majority of last year on the left edge with a nice combination with Bradman Best. They were terrific. I was surprised that, with Tuala, who can play left and right edge quite easily, he started the year on the right edge, to go Marju over there and then have to form a new combination with Dane Gagai. Didn't really understand it, but...
Yeah, maybe Tuala's just been playing so well that they were just
Yeah, but Tuala's still fine on the right wing, but it was purely just around the defensive combination of Marju and Best.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, it is very interesting. You would have assumed he would go straight back there because he's played there so much with Bradman Best, but yeah,